move out. Minnesota's now got 6. I think Chicago's minding their own business because they want a point guard at 7, and that might be there for them. I think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns still throughout the first 10 or 15 picks tonight.
I think a lot of this came down to there was a couple of wing players that everyone was looking at, whether that had been R.J. Barrett or DeAndre Hunter, and then it turns into, well, I think I can get my guy even if I move down a little bit. Let me see if I can make something out of this.
I will tell you guys, my hope at this point is that Cam Reddish is there at 10.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want this to be DeAndre and Cam, 2 wings, 2 very different skill sets, but also big body guys, play defense. I think in the Hawks system with Trae Young, I think wings are going to flourish. That to me, now, I don't know what your starting lineup would look like next year, but to give me a group of Trae, Herter, Hunter, Collins, and then whoever fills out the 5, now I've got a core that I feel like I can grow with.
Look, the Luka Trae thing won't be sorted out until a few years from now, maybe till their careers are over. But to your point you just made, Matt, Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Herter, John Collins, and center X, whether it's Jackson Hayes, whether it's a guy already on the roster, whether it's somebody in free agency, or Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Luka Doncic, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Maxi Kleber. Who you running with?
Well, I guess the curveball there is, remember, Dallas has got a good bit of money, and I guess they want to get in the Al Horford thing. So you could be looking at Luka, Porzingis, Horford. There's some right answers in all of this stuff. And remember, they're in different places. Cuban's like, I want to win now. The Hawks are trying to brick by brick build this thing.
Well, just remember, free agency is on its way. It's not about this draft or right now. It's about the future. And I think Travis Schlink has set us up well. We'll be talking about Welcome in to the live stream, the 680 The Fan live stream, a collaboration between myself, home team, Brandon Leak, the man who is not to be messed with any numbers, Carlos Medina, and you, the people, the fans, the followers of basketball here in this town. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're just going to have some fun. We're going to talk NBA draft. We're going to talk Atlanta Hawks. We're going to talk trades. We're going to talk Travis Schlenk. And we are one of the only entities that have boots on the ground live from the center of the draft, as some of our own Brandon Harper and Houston Jemison are going to join us with their live on the ground reports from Brooklyn.
And that's going to be the cool thing too. They have the Drop Step podcast. You're going to hear the immediate reaction from Brooklyn and obviously from around the league as the Atlanta Hawks make the big move. Everyone was waiting to see what was going to happen with 3 first-round picks, home team. And I think you and I, as soon as the word came down, we were pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic about it. I think the bottom line is you needed to do something you wanted to do. You tanked a season ago, and you got assets. You wanted to turn those assets into something, Carlos Medina, and it looks like a team that was down on the deck 18 months ago, coachless, starless, all-starless, now is in a position where they could have a good coach that could be around for a long time. You have a guy who could be rookie of the year and could be a superstar. A good 1-2 punch with Trae Young and with John Collins. A good shooter in Kevin Huerter. And now the number 4 pick in the draft. How about how times can change when you just make some good decisions and get a little luck that bounces your way?
I think if we talk about the big difference in this organization, I think it starts at the top. And we all who have lived through the days of Atlanta Spirit Group were so happy when Tony Ressler came in and basically decided, we're going to infuse a bunch of money in this thing. We're going to change the passion of this thing. We're going to change the building up, and we're going to go from the top down. Well, now we're starting to see the fruits of so many of those things where Travis Schlenk, obviously a very highly regarded front office personnel man, you're now starting to see the selections that he's going with, the picks that he's making, the trades that he's making. This thing now has legitimate hope, and more than anything, it's cool. I watched a team last year that I knew was not going to be in the playoffs, but they were cool. The style was cool. There's something to building that with this franchise.
Yes, and I think the other thing is patience and making sure you make the right moves. And so nothing is going to be fixed over time. You look at NBA champions. You grew up in San Antonio. You watched what the Spurs were, what they became, and how they are now a part of the annals of NBA history forever. They did it the right way. They made the right moves. They had a philosophy. They had a good GM. They got a little fortune. They had some good players. They dominated when they were supposed to, and that's what the Atlanta Hawks are looking to do. Everybody in the NBA draft is looking to do. So the Atlanta Hawks fans and people who have been longtime supporters of this franchise should be in a very good place moving forward.
You mentioned one thing in there that you forget it. You didn't mention it, was luck. And that was one of the big factors that happened in San Antonio, where you hit on a 19-year-old Frenchman. You picked somebody in the second round that turned into a pro basketball Hall of Famer in Manu Ginobili. You need some of those things to have happen for you. And so the fact that we sat here about a month ago and missed out on the #1 pick, I'm now sitting back going, all right, I'm sitting at 4 and I'm sitting at 10. And I got all sorts of expiring contracts. I got young guys that I can build around. I don't feel as bad as I did a month ago when we were doing this.
And I like a GM that makes good moves and is transparent. Man said he's not looking to draft 6 players with the 6 picks he initially had. He sold a couple off for future draft picks, so 1 off for cash. Now he's converted 2 picks, the 8 and the 17, for a #4 pick, along with a player who has an expiring contract that's going to be coming in Solomon Hill. And it's a situation where you used assets to better your team. And the other thing I like is you don't just hope and wait. The Hawks, they wanted Giannis Antetokounmpo. They wanted him, but they had to hope and wait. And guess what? The Milwaukee Bucks were right there, 1 pick in front of them, and they missed out on him. We ended up taking Lucas Nogueira. They ended up getting Giannis and maybe an MVP. So instead of sitting back and waiting, if there's a player you identify, I'm all in favor of moving forward, moving up, and being aggressive to get the guy you want, and it looks like that's the case. We'll see, as the Hawks have acquired the #4 pick with the New Orleans Pelicans. In exchange, the Hawks will give up their 8, their 17, their 35, and they will be picking at #4, which pretty much is when the draft starts, because we know who the first 3 players are, we think, coming off the board.
And I think the important factor in all of this is that had they been able to move up to #3, New York was very adamant about holding on to that pick. The belief was that they would be moving up for one of the 2 wings. The ability to be a 3-and-D type of player, and not just a little bit of defense. You got a player in DeAndre Hunter, if that's the way you go, plays a great amount of defense. That is a really good ball player. You realize that you're talking about having to find that 6'7" guy that can influence the floor on offense and defense. And I think what I like most about this entire thing, especially when it came to Travis Schlenk, was that he basically circled a couple of guys just like he did last year. I'm circling Luka, I'm circling Trey. These are the 2 guys that could help us the very most. Oh, by the way, I'm getting a pick out of it. I think when it comes to talent evaluation, that's what he does so well that you just got to trust it and go with it.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're getting a piece who should fit in with the system and room to grow. You know, a lot of people get caught up in who was the best player in college, what did they do in college. It's not about what they did. It's about what they could be and what they could do. And what you're getting coming in also does have a part, but also what you can see in the future. And what you're getting coming in, Defensive Player of the Year, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, a Joker that's 6'7", Joker that's 225 pounds, Joker that made 50% of his shots from the floor, Joker that made 43% of his shots from behind the three-point line. Who doesn't want that guy on their team?
You and I have a love for the movie Hustle and Flow.
Very important movie in this film genre that we see.
Everybody's got to have a dream.
Everybody's got to have a dream.
That's the thing that tonight. That dream gets a little bit closer. This is all about building a team step by step. I was working in Dallas at the time when the Mavericks built into what they built into. They were the worst team of the 90s. They had the most god-awful ownership. They were a terrible franchise. But you started to see those steps all around a guy like Dirk Nowitzki. That's the same kind of deal that you want to see here. Am I going to get to 35 wins? We'll see. I'd love to see that. Am I going to get to 40 wins? Love to see that. But it's all about those incremental jumps as guys go from 20, 21, 22, and suddenly, hey, I'm a playoff team, and I've got a window here to make something happen.
Well, I think they did what they had to do, get the player you want, and that's good. We look at the first 3 picks in the draft. Those are have-to picks. If you're the New Orleans Pelicans, you have to take Zion Williamson. If you are the Memphis Grizzlies, you just traded your franchise all-time leader in everything as a point guard in a really good guy. When you look at a guy who was a franchise guy, good for the community, a guy who was solid, you get him out and you move him to Utah, so you know you're going to be switching up point guards. So that's a have-to pick. The New York Knicks, they didn't want to trade with anybody. They wanted the guy who had the hype, another Dookie, RJ Barrett. I think those are have-to picks. So really, anyway, the draft, after those scenarios, begins at $4. The Hawks are right there.
Begins at $4. By the way, since we are streaming right now on our YouTube channel,
Yes.
We are going to be extremely interactive with this thing. First off, Danielle, I'm glad that you are not driving. That would be terrible for you to be taking in the stream.
Don't take that
from
ticket.
That stream. Chris, he asked about who's going to win the Buck and Kincaid tomorrow. It's Buck, okay? It happens every single year from that standpoint. It's like clockwork. There's a reason why on that cup it has like 17 entries and 16 of them are Buck Bellew. So that's just kind of how that goes. Can we curse? Well, we could, but
that's not what we do.
That's
We're
not what we
professionals.
do.
We're professionals. You can find cussing anywhere else in social media.
That ends up being the crazy thing about when we do this stuff is that I've gotten so conditioned to not cursing over the course of my career that when I go home, that's when I unleash it on the kids. But when I'm at work, I leave it alone. I just don't bring it to the air.
Damn it, Matty!
I was gonna say, just as Hoyt, by the way, Hoyt is the one in control of the social media page. So things might be a little bit weird for you. So every now and then we're going to talk a whole ton of basketball. We're going to talk a whole ton about this night. The 4th overall pick, the 10th overall pick, and a lot of interaction with you guys just getting a chance to talk about that.
Yeah, I think the good thing is it's Christmas Day for all NBA teams. You get to get gifts. You get to make decisions. You get to improve. You get to have your new guys come in. So everybody pretty much wins. Now, there are some teams that made some moves beforehand. We saw what the Lakers did when they traded for Anthony Davis with New Orleans. We saw that, the Grizzlies are trying to go into a different direction. We're seeing and hearing that Cleveland now has made some moves. So I think this is going to be a wild and wacky draft tonight. We're going to have to keep our heads on a swivel with all the movement and the uncertainty when you talk about free agency coming up in just a couple of weeks, which I kind of don't like. I think you should be able to sign your free agents first, then add the draft. That's neither here nor there.
It's a weird scenario because it causes teams to try and unload draft picks in order to create cap space. And so it's such a weird scenario going, hey, I'm holding on to the 5th pick, but I need to make sure I don't assign this money to anybody. So how can I move this thing and make sure I don't mess with my salary cap?
All right, more to come. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Make sure you interact with us, and also make sure you interact with us on our social media pages at 680thefan.com.
Steven, I don't know where Mel is, man. AJ, what's up?
You can also use some hashtags, and we're going to be using hashtag 680draft. You can follow him. Where can the people follow you, Los Medina?
At Front Office Los on Twitter, and obviously right here on YouTube.
Hashtag Los.
Hashtag Los will work. And at Hometeam B-League. Take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Draft Show, the 2019 Draft Show here on 680 The Fan, 680thefan.com, and YouTube Live.
Hashtag fun.
Atlanta Braves baseball every night on just one sports station.
Here's the pitch, and it's ripped deep to left. Granderson back at the track, looks up. She's gone! Ronald Acuna has tied the game.
Proud to be Atlanta's 10-year home of the Braves.
3-run blast to left.
The Fan 680 and 93.7 FM.
Last year, over 20,000 people experienced the passion, the excitement, and the fun of the Fan family station's tailgate parties.
Hey, and this year we look forward to setting another attendance record with bigger, better, and tastier tailgate.
And the best part?
It's free.
The best part is libations. The liquid from the country's biggest and best hydration expert, Corona, Larceny Bourbon, Bud Light, and of course, Burnett's and vodka.
And it's still free?
Go to 680thefan.com and click on the Tailgate tab for more information.
Be a part of radio history here in Atlanta by securing the 680 The Fan 25th Anniversary Retro T-shirt, like Hudson Mason and I are wearing right now.
Great thing is all proceeds will go to a great cause. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, all the great folks over there will benefit from it. You can get your shirt and hat, trucker hat. That's always great for the summertime. 680thefan.com/retrobuck. People may get that confused with Metro because we're going to look so good in it.
Don't fool around. Do it now and be looking good.
'19 NBA Draft Show live, YouTube Live, and on 680thefan.com. A collaboration. Home Team branded lead from the Sports X, one half of the Home Team and Hamilton Show, 9 to noon, live and local from Cobb County on 106.3 FM, and the guy who is not to be messed with any numbers or anything NFL, college, or NBA related. Los Medina.
And I'm hangry. I'm not able to eat that many wings or anything.
I know. You got a wing?
Just a wing, man, but I don't get to eat a whole lot of stuff here.
All right, a lot to get to. We already are anticipating hearing the Hawks get the 4th pick and that name called. It looks like all reports. Adrian Wojnarowski reporting. It looks like it's going to be DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia, so we're waiting on that. We know Zion Williamson is going to go number first. There should be a record set how quick the commissioner sits down before he runs into somebody with a card to tell him, yeah, we're taking Zion.
Yeah, it's just here's this. Okay, here's Morant. Here's R.J. Barrett. We're good here. Everything's fine for the first 4 picks.
We should know the 40 times of Zion Williamson, John Morant, and R.J. Barrett. They should be running to the podium. Shouldn't take much time between those 3 teams. Well, they'll shift gears and go up to New York as the site of the draft is taking place. We'll go live to where we have boots on the ground, part of our Drop Step podcast. And part of the Dickey Broadcasting family, we have Brandon Harper and Houston Jameson joining us live from the NBA Draft. Gentlemen, how you doing this fine Thursday morning or Thursday evening?
Gentlemen, what's going on? Tizzle, I hear you down there holding it down, man. Y'all sound good down there.
Yeah, I'm lucky. We're professionals.
What's up, guys? How are y'all?
He's as professional. The 2 Live crew was as nasty as they want to be. Los is as professional as he wants to be.
And I can see the sexual tension between you guys is just as big between Hometeam and I.
Exactly the same. Set the scene for us. What's going on down there? Usually there's a whole lot of media, a whole lot of elbow bumping. What's going on? Set the scene and the table as the draft is about to kick off in a few minutes.
Well, we are currently, you basically said it, we are in what we like to call the media war room. There is not a lot of elbow room. There's media everywhere. Everybody's scrambling to get things together, just to get ready for the draft. And you just see people running back and forth. It's really a madhouse here at Barclays, and I don't expect anything less for the rest of the night.
Now, one of the things I want to get into, you guys, because obviously you're in the building, and then suddenly the word from Adrian Wojnarowski comes down. Hawks make the move up, jumping over to 4. It almost seems like it's really mapped out this thing for at least the first 4 picks, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, really, I was talking to a guy that was sitting in front of us, and we were like, do we really need to have a clock for the first 3 picks? Because we kind of already know what they're going to be. But I know some of these, I know this is an event, so they're going to milk the clock. They're going to sit there. They're going to draw this out. So we know what the first 3 picks are going to be. And to see the Hawks and Travis Schlenk get up to number 4 and to be aggressive as they have, it really was a shock to a lot of people. You should have heard it. You just heard all the oohs and the ahs here in the war room. It was great.
Yeah, the Hawks are starting to become relevant nationally when you start reading the articles, hearing comments from DeAndre Hunter yesterday, how he thought the Hawks were going to do big things. The look from Zion Williamson during the draft lottery when he kind of tapped the Hawks logo when he went by when he was setting up. So a little national buzz. Hawks now in a good spot now that they have number 4, but they also still keep number 10. So they could still pick there, move back from there, move up from there. What's the excitement level, and what do you think should be done when you're talking about still having one of your lottery picks that you acquired based on what you did last year?
Well, yeah, like you said, the way it's looking around here, we already know, or we're expecting that number 4 is going the way it's going with DeAndre Hunter. At number 10, the way it sounds around here, we're looking at hopefully maybe Jackson Hayes, maybe somehow Cam Reddish sneaks all the way down to 10. That's what we're keeping our fingers crossed for. But right now it's looking more like we might go with the big like Jackson Hayes at the number 10 spot.
Let me ask you guys about this, because the buzz, and you'll always have this sort of stuff happen during drafts, is about medical issues. That hopefully you start floating this stuff out there because you want a guy to fall to you. Do you buy into any of that stuff with Reddish, and will we even know until, hey, suddenly he's there at 10 or maybe there and falling down the board that those are legit concerns?
Yeah, you're going to hear buzz. I mean, that's one of those old tactics that you hear even before the draft and even during the draft. You have these issues that come up with guys, and this team tries to bait this team to possibly trade up and get this guy. So, you're going to hear a lot of that. The fact of the matter is, if your guy is there when it's time for you to draft, you get him. No matter what's being said, a lot of that is smokescreen. We all know no matter what draft it is, whether it be the NBA draft or the NFL draft, it doesn't matter. A lot of it is smokescreen. All the teams are trying to do what they need to do to be able to land their guy.
Yeah, I think it's one of those deals this year where there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of people still holding on to their chips for free agency. But there are teams making moves. Looks like Cleveland Cavaliers trying to make a move. We saw the Minnesota Timberwolves trying to make a move. The Hawks have made a move. The Pelicans and Lakers made a move. This is going to be a night, I think, where a lot of people still might be moving by the time you guys get out of there.
Right. It's supposed to be going on all night. The Timberwolves did make a move up. But really for us, what we're looking for, especially for the Hawks, Cam Reddish, as much as you could talk about injuries or anything, anybody passing up on him before 10 at this point would just be foolish. Like, any team in the top 10 needs a player like Cam Reddish. Field goal percentage pretty high. The thing about him last year was you were the third option behind Zion Williams and RJ Barrett. So imagine what happens when he gets to a team where he's actually the number 1 or number 2 option.
I know for as many people that talk about guys like Cam Reddish or Nasir Little, the idea that basketball has grown to be positionless, especially when we get in those last 4 or 5 minutes, it's about getting my best players on the floor. There's no longer this talk of, oh, they go small. It's just, I got the best guys on the floor. I think that's really the ideal thing. For anybody who says, well, you already got a guy in Hunter that's kind of like Reddish, but he plays defense. No, I want both of them if I can.
Yeah, because what Cam Reddish does so well, and he's shown it in sporadic moments while he was at Duke, the man can shoot the basketball. He's lights out from 3. He hit the game winner at Florida State that, sent the nation crazy. We know what he can do. Like Houston said, he was the third option. He was battling injuries. But realize that he was the number 3 guy in that 2018 recruiting class behind RJ and behind Zion, for whatever that's worth. He was a 5-star just like them. But sometimes you just get lost in the fold when there's other talent ahead of you.
Still a lot of work to be done. What does it say about Travis Schlink? He's been on the job not that long, but every time he makes a move, it seems to be an impactful one. Where do you think he stands right now as far as resurrecting and really getting the franchise reinvigorated in his short time here as Hawks GM?
He is definitely on the right path. He's been taking the right steps. One thing that we've heard around here is he's a decision maker. If he has somebody that he wants, he's aggressive and he goes and gets it. Like he did last year with Trae Young. He knew what he wanted. He knew the value that he could get for him. And we're going to see it all play out tonight with whoever we get for this 10th pick.
Well, thanks for your time. We'll try to get with you guys later on with the Hawks picking at 4 and 10. You guys are connected at the hip and looks like you're connected at the ear, too. So y'all will be connected throughout the night.
I've got a few questions, actually. Brian Hoyt
joining us.
Oh, no, not Brian Hoyt.
We have a breathalyzer.
Is it true you're actually sharing the same earpiece?
I can never confirm or deny that.
Second question, if I can just follow up real quick. Where did you get the drop step mic cover?
I got it made.
That is fancy stuff. And final question, if you may. There's a scary white guy over your left shoulder, Harper. Watch out for him.
Don't look at him. Don't look at him. Don't look at him.
Don't look. Time, one at a time.
Yeah, don't look.
Have fun, guys.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you a little bit later.
All right, now, gentlemen. See y'all later.
From the Drop Step Podcast, that's Braden Harper and that's Houston Jameson joining us. Boots on the ground. You can't be upset about any of that, Los, and a situation where it's going to be a lot of movement. And this draft doesn't have a whole lot. I go back to 2013, a draft that didn't have a whole lot of big names. Really, a whole lot of guys haven't panned out yet. But you don't do the draft. You don't look at the draft as this is the end-all, be-all for this season. It's about down the road and the future and building towards a championship run. That's what every fan base, every GM, and everybody watching tonight has to keep in mind.
I will tell you this, and this is coming from a guy who watched the Spurs as long as I have and followed that program for as long as I did. When we got Kawhi Leonard, that cost us George Hill. Right. And when I say us, we've been season ticket holders in San Antonio since '89.
Wow.
So George Hill is a fan favorite, but the team needed to get bigger. They needed a defensive presence at the small forward position. And so when they made the trade, suddenly at 15, they're picking up some guy named Kawhi Leonard who really could not shoot the basketball very well, but was a pretty strong defender. Everybody thought this guy's Bruce Bowen. He's now the best player in the world. And so you talk about what guys grow into and what they become and why you want that investment. It's not just about next year. It's about what happens when a guy gets into a pro program, starts eating right, starts lifting right, and his sole focus is basketball. And I think we saw guys like Kevin Huerter, how he came on throughout the year. You started to see Trae Young and the ability to see his game improve. It's a constant process. And I think you've got to pay attention to that process in this deal.
And how about the Hawks and Hawk fans? You know, there've been years and regimes and runs and drafts where a lot of people got excited and you didn't get what you wanted on draft night. You didn't get what you wanted the year after that. You can go back through the annals of history, at least the last couple of years. You got what you wanted. Some people still wanted Luka Doncic. Some people ended up being okay, which I think we all should with Trae Young. But now in back-to-back drafts, you got Trae Young, and now you got the number 4 pick to follow that up. So that's a 1-2 punch on the floor, but also for the fans and for the GM putting together something where it's like, oh man, we don't have to go through another bad draft like we've seen throughout the course of this franchise's history from time to time.
You have rooted for this team. You have covered this team. You have been an analyst with this team. I think the deal is that when we would come in the morning and you and I would see each other, right about 11 o'clock, you'd be like, you said a game last night? And there were times where it was rough, where it was like, man, they're bad, man. They got to do this and this. Last year, I think gave you and I both a shot in the arm where we'd see you in the morning and be like, man, did you see that shot last night? It's got to be different even from your fan perspective, not just an analyst perspective.
And, you can see it. We can see where the Hawks are going. Will Trae Young be a superstar? We don't know. But what we do know, and what I know, is Trae Young will be better as the team gets better, as shooters get better, as talent and veterans who come in become better. He might not have to work as hard for some of his baskets. His assist numbers might be easier with better players. So having a guy who can drive the bus with other guys getting better while he gets better, you can see where the Hawks are going. And, oh, by the way, they only won 29 games last year, and it was still fun to watch. There's also an entertainment component that goes into being a supporter of a team. You want them to win. You want to see championship growths and strides being made, but you also want to be entertained. And the Hawks last year showed that they were entertaining in a season where John Collins started off and Kevin Huerter started off not 100%, a little bit banged up.
Chad Umbarger has one of these questions talking about the player for the 10th spot. If you had your druthers, everything works out for you, what would you want at 10?
Cam Reddish. Get the better player. Get him right now. There are plenty of free agents who can come in and fill roles, fill roster spots, help you, help the coach. If you have a chance to get very solid talent early without having to do a whole bunch to get them, you get them.
Let's see. We've got one person on here. Frank Duffy just wants to let everybody know to don't damage brands off camera, specifically over to Hoyt. T. Gibbs going to Miss Hudson's awkward lapel mic handling. He was.
What happened with Hudson?
He would just keep moving around with it, and then
Hudson Mason.
He would wear these shorts, and they would, he's into like the, what the guys wear these days with their halfway. Yeah, you could see like everything when he would lean back.
NC-17 shorts.
They were. Band Channel. Hopefully it's not Chanel. Either way, Ben. Best Biscuit. It's a pretty big deal right there. Oh,
Best Biscuit?
Yeah. I got a biscuit bar in Cumming, Georgia.
The cheddar biscuit.
The cheddar biscuit is really strong.
It's hard to mess with that.
I didn't even count that.
The cheddar biscuit is undefeated.
I was thinking like a breakfast biscuit.
No, you got to go with the biscuit.
I like a breakfast biscuit too, but you can save the cheddar biscuit for the morning.
Oh, okay. So here's a fun one. This is from my guy James. Hoyt, have you ever considered doing a morning show? Here's the thing. Mornings will kill you.
Oh, boy. That means he has to get to bed or get in by 4:45.
Let me tell you, this morning show would definitely want to kill him. Let's see. Brian has a question about, is there any chance the Knicks mess up with their pick and R.J. Barrett slides to 4? It's a James Dolan organization. Anything can happen there.
Yeah, they have a lot of kookiness. It's impossible to mess that up. I can't see them, unless they just are sold on Darius Garland, and the reports are that they aren't. I don't see them messing this one up. They're going to take R.J. Barrett and try to start over with their franchise with him.
When you're at 3, you don't have to smoke screen yourself.
No, you don't.
Hey, we were thinking about Barrett, but nobody saw us taking Garland. It's like, well, everyone knows who the first 2 picks are. What are you trying to smoke screen?
Here's a better question. If they do that, if the Knicks don't take R.J. Barrett and the Hawks are at 4, are they still as sold on DeAndre Hunter at 4? Or if R.J. Barrett is there, do you take him at 4?
That becomes a difference of offense and defense. I'm getting an elite defender who can score. I'm now talking about an elite scorer who's been, at least at one point, was projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft before Zion really came on. Michael Ashby. Where's your mule? I don't have a mule right now.
Okay.
I'm without alcohol, but that's coming. Trust me. Let's see. Anything else on here that we need to take care of? Y'all end up directing us. We're going to be having fun.
Thanks for the interaction. We're going to be here all the first round for the Atlanta Hawks through their 10th pick. We'll be here till about 9 o'clock. So feel free, sign in on the YouTube live stream, and also make sure you get a chance to follow us at 680thefan.com. Where can they follow you, Carlos Medina?
At Front Office Los on Twitter.
And you can follow me at Hometeam B-Leak, as well as the Sports X. We'll take a quick break as the draft is about to get underway from New York. We'll come back as they get started. We'll get started too. 2019 NBA Draft Show live here from 680 The Fan and the YouTube live stream.
Atlanta Braves baseball every night on just one sports station.
Here's the pitch, and it's ripped deep to left. Granderson back at the track, looks up. She's gone! Ronald Acuna has tied the game.
Proud to be Atlanta's 10-year home of the Braves.
3-run blast to left.
The Fan 680 and 93.7 FM.
Last year, over 20,000 people experienced the passion, the excitement, and the fun of the Fan Family Station's tailgate parties.
Hey, and this year we look forward to setting another attendance record with bigger, better, and tastier tailgate. And the best part? It's free.
The best part is the libations. You know, the liquid from the country's biggest and best hydration experts. Corona, Larceny Bourbon, Bud Light, and of course, Burnett's vodka.
And it's still free?
Go to 680thefan.com and click on the tailgate tab for more information.
Be a part of radio history here in Atlanta by securing the 680 The Fan 25th Anniversary Retro T-shirt, like Hudson Mason and I are wearing right now.
Great thing is all proceeds will go to a great cause. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, all the great folks over there will benefit from it. You can get your shirt and hat, trucker hat. That's always great for the summertime. 680thefan.com/retrobug. People may get that confused with Metro because we're going to look so good in it.
Don't fool around. Do it now and be looking good.
Welcome back into the 2019 NBA Draft Extravaganza, live on 680thefan.com and our YouTube Live page. Home Team, Brandon Leak from the Sports X, one half of the Home Team and Hamilton show, myself and the College Football Hall of Famer Joe Hamilton, 9 to noon on the Sports X. And this guy, a guy who is a well-rounded math machine. He's not to be messed with at all. That's Carlos
And
Medina.
outside of Brian Hoyt, then me, Friendly Lowe's.
So here we go. We're ready to go. The NBA draft is about to get underway. And you can tell when your commissioner is starting to become entrenched with the fans. The boos as they grow year after year. His first year, he got a few cheers. The last year with David Stern as commissioner of the NBA, I mean, he came out like a member of the NWO, where he was just kind of doing a Hollywood Hogan, give me the boos, and the boos will continue to grow from Adam Silver. That usually signifies you're doing a pretty good job.
He sucks so bad. And the thing is, and I want y'all to go look at it if you don't know what I'm talking about, Austin Powers, you know when they freeze Mr. Bigglesworth, the cat, and he becomes a hairless cat? That's what Adam Silver looks like. He looks like Mr. Bigglesworth from Austin Powers.
He is a brilliant man. He is a guy who is very forward-thinking.
But he sucks.
I disagree. I think that the guy he's in an interesting time. He's in a time where the league is in a good place, but he can't rest on his laurels.
Is it?
He still has to grow his league. The ratings are fluctuating. Attendance has gone down a little bit. Ratings have gone down a little bit, but we don't know what that means with the absence of LeBron James. But what does that mean with the infusion of Zion Williamson? So he's in an interesting place. He also has to continue to grow the game, and he also has to try to continue to bring people in.
Here's the problem, is that the rise of the super team has essentially eliminated about 26 rosters, 26 cities from ever having an opportunity to win anything. Now, you get a team like Milwaukee that has to basically get an MVP type of player. Now you worry about if they don't get it done over the next couple of years, where's Giannis? The alpha male is dying in the NBA. There's just not a whole lot of guys that say, it's on me, I'm going to stay here, this is what I'm going to go and do. The biggest difference with Adam Silver versus predecessor with David Stern, Stern was gangster. Stern basically looked at the health of his league and flat out said, no, you're not able to trade Chris Paul for cheap over to the Lakers. That is not happening. So the power that he had in the interest of stability, in the interest of making sure that you always had a different storyline. You can tell me about Jordan's Bulls and 6 titles, but look who he played. It was a different team almost every single time.
Well, see, I think Adam Silver is a little bit different. I think the difference between he and David Stern, you're right. He was gangster. He didn't care. He had that old school New York lawyer in him, and he just wasn't about to, kowtow to anybody. However, there is a little bit of a difference because as social media and how people consume the game has changed, he has to deal with, do I allow gambling in my league? Yes, that's what I want. He has to go through, do I want to charge people $2, $3 to watch a fourth quarter of a game, any game you want to where you don't have to be at home? Yes, that's something that he is approaching. And you know what? He's not for tanking. He's not for super teams. He's trying to show everybody a lesson, what he did with this draft lottery, which is tanking doesn't guarantee you anything, and you better watch out. It may guarantee you nothing. He would rather have more Kawhi Leonards and more Torontos every year than have the super team where David Stern wanted the super team. He wanted the Lakers, the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, the 76ers, the Pistons. He loved those things. Adam Silver was like, yeah, I want Milwaukee to win a title. I want Toronto to win a title. I want Atlanta to win a title. And I don't want my superstars all ganging up in one city to go beat everybody else.
Well, the hairless cat was presided over the most stale 5 years of NBA basketball where it was Cleveland and Golden State, Cleveland. Toronto was a breath of fresh air for those of us that still love the NBA. And as much as I hate the league this past year and the last couple of years, I still love the league. Doesn't that sound weird? I hate it, but I love it. It's real passionate, right?
You're still in, though.
I'm still in, but that was the thing. Having Toronto win, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm back. And I love the storyline of Golden State being this injured, not because of the injury, but what they have to overcome as champions. Suddenly, there's real storylines back in the league again. It's not just, if you're healthy and you play Golden State, you're going to lose. And that's been the league storyline for the better part of 5 years.
Well, it's going to be a while for the Hawks get a free agent who is of a superstar talent. I don't think they're going to get anybody this year coming out of this pool, so you have to wait 3-4 years down the road. That being said, I think the thing to get out of Toronto is if you have a good enough team and a good enough coach, one guy can make the difference, but you have to want people to come there. Now, Kawhi was a little bit different because he was traded, but it's a situation where one guy can make a difference if you're set up, and the Hawks need to be set up. And tonight is a part of setting up for the future so that one day before we're old and gray and people are feeding us applesauce and fruit cocktail in a home, we can see a title here in this town.
There's something really cool about it. There's something fun when you get a title in your town because more than anything, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, it just unifies everybody in a way where we're all watching the same stuff. We're all rooting for the same team. We all want the same things. And being that I've seen that happen before, I want that for this community. I talked about this, probably about 2 months ago. I would rather be in the Hawks position right now than where the team I've grown up watching, the Spurs, are right now. That is you're still going to chase 50 wins, but it's an aging roster with multiple 30-year-old guys on there and a bunch of young guys that are good, but they're not possibly superstar elite good. And so when you talk about what's going on, this is just part of the process. You added a pretty elite player and it looks like somebody's going to grow into that in Trae Young. You tell me that I get to add a DeAndre Hunter? Okay, we're rolling. We got some things. Collins and Hurt are obviously really good ball players as well.
League, I think, is in a good place when you talk about having the next crop come in. Your Luka Doncic and your Trae Young came in last year. Your Zion Williamson, your Ja Morant coming in this year. Yeah. You're going to be in a situation where the young guys waiting to grow take their lumps in the league. It's a pretty interesting group, and I think a pretty likable group. You have people around the country who like Trae Young. They like the fact that he's the little guy who's getting the big buckets. They're going to like Zion Williamson, the big guy who's getting big buckets. And now that they have a situation where Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram are going to be in New Orleans, teams that normally didn't have a lot of national attention, I think, TNT and ESPN, some of these nationally televised games are going to see some of these young stars more often than not kind of creeping into some of those slots of where they normally were.
We got one national game last year.
Yeah.
And that was
That's
fine.
okay. I was okay with that.
Guys like Trae Young are going to drive that interest and that ability where people go, let me just see what's going on there in Atlanta. Ultimately, that's what you want. You want to have that interest where people go, something is interesting going on there. Let's go check it out. Because once the nation starts following it, other players start following it. Agents start following it. And they start realizing, hey, that's an interesting young group with a ton of money to spend. We talked about those contracts that they brought in Solomon Hill and obviously getting Crab as well. You're going to have $45 million in contracts come off the books after this year. So you've got some room to do some things.
All right, here we go. They're about to make the first pick in the 2019 NBA draft. We have to keep seeing what the results are going to be. I have a feeling if I was to put my mortgage, my mother's mortgage, and your mother's mortgage online, I think the Pelicans are going to take Zion Williamson.
There we go.
And it is done. It is so. Zion Williamson is now a member of the New Orleans Pelicans, a team that has been desperately looking to get some traction. They tried it with Chris Paul, didn't work. They tried it with Anthony Davis and Boogie Cousins, it didn't work. Now, Zion Williamson coming in, where he comes in out of Duke, a sensational freshman season. Didn't make it all the way to a championship run, but still a very talented and exciting player. It is official. Zion Williamson, the #1 pick in the 2019 NBA draft.
It's not often that you have freshmen that win the John Wooden Award. And you think about the last guy that did it was Kevin Durant. So you're talking about that kind of player who showed up in college basketball and dominated from the jump. If you're New Orleans, considering you just went through having a guy like Anthony Davis say, I don't want to play for you anymore, okay, fine. Here's your next surprise. Here's your next Christmas gift.
All right, let's keep it real. How's the look go? He's going to be judged for this for the rest of his life.
I think he looks sweet.
He's got on, it looks like an off-white suit with looks like a tuxedo jacket and a tuxedo ruffled shirt with no tie, a little bit of an open collar. I like the look. He is formal to some degree. Not too many colors. I like colors, but that's not a bad look for the guy who's going to be a face of a league.
And it's actually kind of nice, the look. He just looks very clean. And as we turn into, the people on the red carpet that are reviewing what his attire is going to be. But that's fine. I give him an A. I give him an A, too. That's part of what happens with the NBA draft is that you watch and just go, oh, God, like who dressed that man? In this case, Zion Williamson looks really sharp.
Coming up next, the second pick, it will be the Memphis Grizzlies. Interesting group. They had Jaren Jackson last year, and it's a situation where they have room to grow. They're going to lose Mike Conley to a trade to Utah. We saw that go down yesterday. It becomes consummated today. And then you're going to have a situation where Ja Morant, very explosive, good court vision, very athletic, is going to come in and basically replace Mike Conley Jr. Not a bad place for the Grindhouse members who remember that tough style and nasty style of offense and defense the Grizzlies played just a few years ago to come in and start that all over again.
That was a cool era for them. The Marc Gasol era, the Mike Conley era, how tough they would play you. I think that really fits just that Memphis style. And so you're right. It's now going to a different deal. You're going to see Ja Morant end up being the future point guard there and seeing how they have to build this. It's interesting for me how we go from, okay, we started our rebuild a couple of years ago. You're just now getting into it, and we start seeing the pieces start to come together. A team like New Orleans is able to say, you know what, for our very first year of this thing, bravo, looking pretty good how this is going.
Got themselves a Jared Jackson. They have Wendell Carter. They have some pieces. It should be interesting to see how things go. Coming up third, it will be the New York Knicks, and obviously we think they're going to take R.J. Barrett. There's no way they can't take R.J. Barrett.
The waterworks have started on Zion.
It's
good for him, man.
And it's not easy. When you look at these guys, you're 17, you're, starting to get attention on social media. You're not yet going to college. You go to college 1 year. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of attention. You don't get to be normal, a normal 18-year-old. And so to see him now tear up a little bit, his mom and his relatives right there, that's all right. Nothing wrong with your hard work paying off. He's earned every right to be the number 1 pick in the draft.
I'm glad he got there, but that godless city, look at them party.
Godless city, that's a bit strong.
Is it? You know I'm right.
I do like beignets. I do like Lil Wayne. I'm trying to think of things out of New Orleans.
You're trying to think of the best things out of New Orleans.
Masterpiece, come on, I got the hook up too.
You're like, ugh.
I like the hurricanes. I like the hurricane, the drinks.
The drinks.
Not the bad weather, but the hurricanes that they have out there when you're walking in the French Quarter. I'm trying to think of some things I like about New Orleans.
They still rock 28-3 stuff.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I mean, they have floats. Mardi Gras parades. Like the second lines can't wait to celebrate.
Do I have to lump him in with this? Do I have to treat him like I treat Saints fans?
No, because you know what's going to happen? And this is the fun of the NBA.
Can you hate on Zion?
No, you can't. But here's the fun part. You'll have him in 5 years.
See, there you go.
4 or 5 years, he's going to be coming back here.
He might want to be here.
He's going to go. They're winning.
You know what I said? That was crazy. And people say I've been crazy from time to time. What if Luka Doncic ended up playing with Trae Young a few years from now? Doesn't want to stay in Dallas. Something goes wrong. He likes where they're going. What if he ends up being teammates with Trae Young?
That would be fascinating. I will say this, too, and so much of it is about where you land. Teams like Dallas, teams like San Antonio, they're used to having foreign-born players and them being stars of the team, and the city gets right into it. I don't think Luka was ever going to fit here. I think that we are so much about American basketball and what we see in the college game, what everybody follows, especially here in Atlanta, where it's here comes the ACC tournament. Here's this. Oh, the SEC tournament comes in as well. This is just a different deal.
And here we go. Second pick is about to be made, and it is so. Ja Morant, number 2 overall out of Murray State. He will now go into the grindhouse, be a part of the Memphis Grizzlies. Solid pick. We saw that coming. Great fit, great player. Another guy who is now bringing a star game and a lot of excitement back into the NBA.
Back to Michael Ansby here. Drive-through liquor stores when it comes to New Orleans.
They still have those?
I think so.
They still have those in Texas now. We used to have those here in Georgia.
We had them in South Texas.
I still don't know how that was legal, but I remember as a kid seeing those. I don't know if they can make a comeback with the DUI situation, people being a little bit more responsible. Yes, I didn't know they still had those.
Shrimp Poor Boys.
Awesome.
Chip Crook.
That is something good about New Orleans.
Yeah, Chip Crook with the Shrimp Po' Boy. Kevin wants you to know that it's still a stinky town.
Well, look.
Not everything can be perfect, Kevin.
Where's it coming from? There's a sea, there's an ocean. It could be from the ocean.
Typically the urine.
Oh, boy. You said that, not me.
It's a urine-filled city. People party and they end up on the ground.
A urine-filled city.
I'm just saying, if you're going to have a street where you get to party that hard, there are going to be some people that sometimes relieve themselves on the street.
So maybe it's not people from New Orleans. Maybe it's folks that are coming in. James Tate says Hawks and Pelicans in the 2023 NBA Finals.
Well, you help rebuild them. That's what's going to be one of the things about this
Interesting
trade.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Which team, when you start to look at Dallas with Luka Doncic, the Hawks with Trae Young, that trade, and then the trade you made with New Orleans, which one of those teams gets to the NBA Finals or championship first? That will be something you have to look at with all these GMs, all these star players, all the decisions that went into that.
Well, you are talking about a team in the Atlanta Hawks where, whether it's the futures game, you're represented with Collins and with Young. If you're just talking about rookies that show up on the all-rookie team, okay, that's Herter and that's Young. Now that you're adding another component to that, I think you feel like you're really starting to put something together. I know for as many people that think, hey, what am I getting at 5? Well, in this league, a guy who plays a little defense, rebounds, and shoots, it's not the position that it used to be when you and I were growing up, where it was draft the aircraft carrier and play some defense and go win some titles.
The game now is not about the big people close to the basket, slowing down the clock and limiting possessions. Now it's about pace, getting as many shots up as you can, making sure that everybody who touches the ball, including whoever your center or your 5 is, can shoot the basketball and make everybody pay for a blown assignment. That's where the league is. And you know what? It's not a bad thing. It's fun to watch. It gives teams the opportunity to come back in any game if you have the right pieces. It's good, a good trend. I don't have a problem with it. R.J. Barrett expected to go number 3. When you look at some of the big boards, at 4, DeAndre Hunter listed on some of these boards as the 4th best player in the draft. So if their boards are in alignment with what Travis Schlenk and his scouting staff has seen, they're on par. You can't say that your GM here in Atlanta is going to make a mistake.
No, and I'll tell you this. I did a lot of film work last night, just looking at several different players, most of the usual suspects. You know, I was looking at Reddish, looked at Hunter, looked at Culver. And I think the thing I like most, and I'm hoping that this is exactly the same reason why the Hawks did it, you got a physical presence, a man in Hunter. He did not have any problem with you want to put a little body on him. Doesn't matter. It's not going to bother him. He's going to drive to the cup, and somebody's going to bang him a little bit. Doesn't bother him one bit. His game is much more bullish and strong with the shooting than what I was getting out of Culver. And so if you start asking me, like, what kind of player do I need to add? I need that type of player. I need that type of personality to go with what I have around. Remember, I've got a point guard who, like Steph Curry, is going to have struggles with defending certain guys.
That's right.
I need to have another presence on the floor that does not require any defensive help.
And hey, it's got to be cool to be 6'7", 225 with low body fat. I mean, I've been 225. I've been 235. I've been 245. I've been 259.
But not 6'7".
At 5'8", it just looks and plays a little bit different. Drafts a little bit different.
I'm just saying, I was like, at that point, I play in the low block, and I just hold it down right here.
Look, I can get in the way a little bit and make a free throw if somebody calls a foul. They're about to make the 3rd pick in the draft. New York Knicks, kind of like the Hawks, they can't mess this up. No, it's pretty much a layup. You don't have to worry about any gamble between 1 or 2 players. You know, sometimes number 1 could be the worst position to be in when you have 2 really good players. Obviously, Zion being the guy who was the no doubt about it, but there's a lot of pressure sometimes being number 1. No pressure at all on the Knicks. R.J. Barrett is sitting right there. All you have to do is tell the commissioner to call his name.
This is where James Dolan might mess this thing up. It'll be really interesting, but it should be Barrett. Remember, this is a league where somebody took Anthony Bennett with the number 1 overall pick.
Yes, there have been strange things.
There have been strange things, so I don't put it past anybody that you can screw up the unscrewable.
They just have nothing right now, and they need to get to a place where they can begin to start the future, starting to win. Here comes our commissioner,
Commissioner Bigglesworth.
Adam Silver, with the 3rd pick in the NBA draft. The New York Knicks own it, and who do they take? Survey says R.J. Barrett, shooting guard out of Duke University.
We are still playing everything along the lines of what it should be, and now the Hawks, although technically it's still the Lakers pick that went to the Pelicans, that's now the Hawks is on the clock.
It won't be the last movement I think we see, but gone to plan. There it is. We kind of saw this coming, and it all fits. Those are pieces that fits. No reaches. Nobody went out of their way. Nobody has done anything dumb. You can do things dumb on draft night, and nothing dumb has been done. What do you think about his ensemble? Looks like what is that? Is that pink? Is that fuchsia? What are we going with?
I think we would go with that's flamingo.
Flamingo is a good way to go with. Black shirt, black on black tie, black pocket square. I'm okay with the look as he daps up Commissioner Adam Silver, and now R.J. Barrett, a member of the New York Knicks.
I couldn't wear that. It looks good.
I would go a little darker with the suit. I do like a black shirt.
Black
I don't
shirt,
think the flamingo is for me.
Yeah, the flamingo's a little bit strong for me. Or, you know what I could do? I could do salmon. Where it's a little pinkish,
what's wrong
but not.
With salmon?
That's the thing, not quite as pink.
I learned a new color too. Apparently, they're still making color shrimp shell, which is salmonish, but not salmon. Who knows? I'm not in charge of the color police. You're talking about a guy now in R.J. Barrett. Is there something wrong with his shot? They're talking about his mechanics. Doesn't look like the best shot in the world. Is that something that can be fixed? Obviously, didn't shoot well from the three, but he is a guy I like who can get to the cup. He's got a big frame. You can put more muscle on him. He doesn't shy away from contact. He's athletic. He's a smart player. All the other intangibles, sure, his shot needs some work. I've seen a guy in Jason Kidd whose shot wasn't the best. It got better. He ended up being a champion when it was all said and done.
And this is the thing that really jumps out to me. It's that when you get into the game of the one and done in college basketball, you get these kids on campus, you're trying to get them to play together quickly. I'm not looking to develop you into something completely different.
Right.
I'm not tearing down your shot to then build it back up. It's kind of you are what you are, and you're going to be on campus for 6 months and then see you later. Well, that's the trick of this whole thing is that once you get into an NBA team, there are shooting coaches that their entire job is to let's take this shot back down to nothing and let's build it back up. You would hope that that's exactly something that R.J. Barrett would be open to and would then start growing with because obviously athletically he can do everything on the floor.
Well, coming up next, the Atlanta Hawks. This is going to be a big pick. You get Trae Young with the trade last year. You needed some assets, and the trade was for this guy. You traded Luka Doncic for Trae Young and whoever you're taking that for. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reporting that it's supposed to be DeAndre Hunter. So ultimately, what it will come down to is if Luka Doncic is the same, worse, or better than Trae Young and what it looks like to be DeAndre Hunter.
That's the way it's coming together. Because you would have been sitting at number 8, and that's another thing too. We're gonna have to watch what ends up happening at number 8 and kind of project what would have been there, because that's a big difference in the two. The player at 8 versus the player at 4. I went through a bit of a study as a front office Lowe's today.
That's what you do.
And I was going through where finals MVPs have been drafted. Now, obviously with Kawhi Leonard, it was 15. We had guys like Andre Iguodala that were 9 and things like that. But for the most part, when it comes to the best players in the league, they're top 5 players.
Right.
And so getting into the top 5 is a significant jump and very important.
And then to that point, back-to-back years, you have 2 top 5 players. Luka technically, drafted at 3, so technically Trae Young is the 5th pick in last year's draft. DeAndre Hunter, the 4th pick. That is exceptional value for a team that decided to tank, whatever you want to call it. You end up with a 4 and a 5 pick, a point guard, a guy who could be rookie of the year, and the defensive player of the year. Again, a guy who shot 50% from the floor, DeAndre Hunter, and 43% nearly from the three-point line. What's wrong with that? I say nothing.
Not a damn thing. Are you bothered that he's going to have to throw on the Laker hat? Like your guy on draft day, here's the Laker hat.
Yeah, history, let's just think of it this way. History will record that it will be the Laker hat.
Yes.
I have no problem because history will record maybe for an all-star game, 2, 3, 5, or 6, DeAndre Hunter will have on the Hawk logo. So no, it doesn't bother me at this time.
Let's see. So checking in on the chat, lots of tears. I think we're 3 for 4 on people crying.
Let's see. Zion got emotional.
We're 2 for 3.
We saw Ja Morant kind of get worked up, but he didn't come out. We saw R.J. Barrett. The waterworks came out. It's emotional, man. I cried too.
These guys, and this is important, these guys are still babies, man. I mean, they're 19 years old. So, I mean, the fact that they're getting affected emotionally, these are not hardened men who have been grinding through the NBA for years. So to see this kind of reaction where obviously it's life-changing, it's something you can get crying about.
Think about how dumb and how undraftable you were at 18 or 19. And then look at these guys and look at the weight on their shoulders.
Thanks for reminding me.
Well, I was saying meaning us.
I didn't get a call in that June. I was like, you know what? I'm throwing about 90 miles an hour. We're going somewhere in, like, let's say, I don't know, 15 to 45.
At 19, I was thinking about how much money I could spend on my rims on my car and what kind of amplifier I was going to put under the passenger seat.
Were you that guy?
I was that guy. I was that guy. It sounded nice at the time.
How much bass you could have. You remember how people would put all the stuff in the trunk?
It was clean. See, you don't want the rattling trunk.
No,
you don't want
no.
You want a nice, clean sound. I invested nicely in my sound system.
Man,
but I was doing that. These guys are working on their game and on their craft. A lot of pressure. I cannot imagine at 19 years old having your every step, every tweet, every comment, every movement on the bench or away from the game monitored and criticized at 19 years of age.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it's an adjustment for these guys. Everyone talks about how much of an adjustment that you have to not just draft the right player, you have to draft the right guy, somebody who can handle the NBA lifestyle, because it is wildly different, especially if you go to a team, and this is where it's going to be different for Atlanta. If you go to a team that's very veteran-laden, most of the guys aren't hanging with you. Hey, I'm 28 years old. I've been in this league for 8 years. I got a wife and 2 kids. I don't have any time for the 19-year-old. We're not going to dinner together and stuff like that. But it's different when you have a core of guys that are all playing together about the same age. That's why it's so important for finding the right people to go along as far as players with this.
And the way the draft is approached has changed. Talking to former Georgia State head basketball coach Ron Hunter, when his son RJ got drafted, he was saying that the situation is, it is a hindrance. It is a negative to be a guy who stays in college for 4 years now, which sounds crazy. You want a guy to refine his game, learn the travails, the ins and outs of playing a game, but people start asking, well, what's wrong with him?
What's wrong with you?
If you're in for 4 years. And so sometimes, even if you want to stay, it's to your benefit to go ahead and throw your name in the NBA draft.
You get so many guys that you always hear, oh, he should have stayed in school. Look where he got drafted. I'm like, no, there are guys that just decide, you'll be asking more questions about why I was not able to turn pro if I go back for another year.
Yeah, and I think it's a situation where it's not going to stop. You're going to see young players continue to go. A lot of good players now still. These first 7 picks are going to be interesting. Kobe White still out there. Darius Garland still out there. Jarrett Culver still out there. Is there any chance the Hawks should go in a different direction? We have been informed by Adrian Wojnarowski. Looks like it's going to be DeAndre Hunter. Is it a mistake if you don't take Jarrett Culver at the number 4 pick?
I just think Hunter's tougher. That's what jumps out to me when going through their tapes. It's Hunter's just tougher. He's more of a bull. He's able to get to the basket, and when he goes to the basket, he's finishing. I mean, we're talking like get in the air, elevate, 2 hands, flush it down on your head.
So the Hawks in their trade, they are going to get the number 4 overall pick, and they're going to get Solomon Hill. They'll get a future 2nd-round pick, and they will get the 57th overall pick. And this year, the Pelicans will get the Hawks 8 and 17, and now the Hawks get ready to make history with Adam Silver coming to the podium. Again, it's the Lakers pick, technically. And at number 4, DeAndre Hunter will put on the Los Angeles Laker hat. It has been proposed that he will be traded to the Atlanta Hawks because that pick was traded to the New Orleans Pelicans. And I like his look. He looks sharp. He's got on the jacket that's buttoned up, custom made, dark shirt, dark tie. Little medallion. Looks like he has a picture of somebody.
He got a picture of him and his dad. His dad passed away when he was young.
I love it. I absolutely love it. His coach is standing right there, part of a championship team. And boy, this could be the start of a really good punch. We've been talking about the Trae Young, John Collins situation in the trio of Collins, Trae Young, and Kevin Huerter. Now you have 4 really young guys, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, the National Defensive Player of the Year. He is now coming to Atlanta. I don't think that's a bad move.
No, and I want to have the highlight package start up just because it's his explosive moves to the basket, his ability to be able to finish. Obviously, he can step out and shoot the ball at a 43% clip. It's just a really impressive big athlete. Look, he'll take you in the block too and beat you up. That's the other thing that when people would say, oh, he's got some Kawhi Leonard to his game, because Kawhi will take you into the block and beat you up. That's the thing about him. He's just tough.
He can run. He can shoot the 3. Again, this guy's shot 42 and just under 43% from the 3-point line. He's got long arms. He can take the contact. He's also somebody who can help you out at the rim. The 2 things immediately the Hawks need to fix: the doggone turnovers, which was worse in the NBA, and also getting some stops. They did very good with the pace that Coach Lloyd Pierce wanted to set, but they need to get some stops. DeAndre Hunter helps with the pace, but he also helps with the stops.
And I'll tell you this, home team, this is another thing that jumps out to me. The Golden State Warriors, when they were in their prime, was the team that could not only go on a run and bury you over 3 or 4 minutes, but could shut you down defensively when they were as good as they were. 3 or 4 minutes where it's just like, listen, we're going to turn the defense on. You can't do anything about it. That's one of those elements that the Hawks, you're hoping, grow into. That we're not talking about playing defense for 48. Nobody does that. But for 3 minutes, game's on the line, I got to make some plays. These are the kind of guys that you need in order to do that.
Shots and stops, brothers. We'll see how this reeks throughout the NBA world and how it sweeps through State Farm Arena. Folks down there, I'm sure they're going crazy. If you are watching live, tell us what's going on down there. Be a part of it. You can also follow us here on the live stream at 680thefan.com and our YouTube live page. Also, the hashtag 680draft is where you can send any comment. We'll take a quick break and get back as we break down DeAndre Hunter, the new Hawk coming in here for the 2019 NBA Draft Show here on The Fan and the Fans live stream on YouTube Live.
Atlanta Braves baseball every night on just one sports station.
Here's the pitch, and it's ripped deep to left. Granderson back at the track, looks up. She's gone! Ronald Acuna has tied the game.
Proud to be Atlanta's 10-year home of the Braves.
3-run blast to left.
The Fan 680 and 93.7 FM.
Last year, over 20,000 people experienced the passion, the excitement, and the fun of the Fan Family Station's tailgate parties.
Hey, and this year we look forward to setting another attendance record with bigger, better, and tastier tailgate. And the best part? It's free.
The best part is the libations. You know, the liquid from the country's biggest and best hydration experts. Corona, Larceny Bourbon, Bud Light, and of course, Burnett's Vodka.
And it's still free?
Go to 680thefan.com and click on the tailgate tab for more information.
Be a part of radio history here in Atlanta by securing the 680 The Fan 25th Anniversary Retro T-shirt, like Hudson Mason and I are wearing right now.
Great thing is all proceeds will go to a great cause. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, all the great folks over there will benefit from it. You can get your shirt and hat, trucker hat. That's always great for the summertime. 680thefan.com/retrobug. People may get that confused with Metro because we're going to look so good in it.
Don't fool around. Do it now and be looking good.
And that's when all hell broke loose, and I had to bury that body in the beat.
We're back.
Oh,
Fans can track this. They can come back and get that.
Hello, America.
Welcome back to the NBA Draft Show, the live stream, 680thefan.com.
Card out here for
and our live stream at YouTube. I'm Home Team Brandon Leak from the Sports X, one half of the Home Team in Hamilton show, which you can catch Monday through Friday, 106.3 FM with my man, the College Football Hall of Famer, Joe Hamilton. This man is not to be messed with. He's front office los. Don't mess with this man. His opinions, his magic with the math, and his expertise covering the NBA for more than a decade and a half now is not to be messed with.
You know this, too. I'm just trying to get that money for the rent.
Well, it's hard out here.
For a pimp.
For a radio host.
And a pimp.
And people streaming live.
Yeah.
People are streaming live. Some interesting questions coming in. DeAndre Hunter selected with the 4th overall pick. The Hawks made a trade with the Pelicans where they gave up the 8th overall pick and the 17th pick. And now they have their hands on DeAndre Hunter. Some questions and comments coming in. Very interesting and very probing questions.
Let's start with G Money. Is Hunter worth 3 picks to trade up 4 spots? Your thoughts, Ed?
I say yes, because if that's the guy you wanted, and remember, they tried to get up to number 3. So there was a guy, Travis Schlenk, GM of the Hawks, wanted. It wasn't like they were sitting back. He wanted somebody. So he called the Knicks, tried to get number 3. They said no. He called the Pelicans. They work out a deal. They say yes. Clearly, this was one of the guys or the guy that he wanted. So you got what you wanted. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a guy that you wanted at number 4.
Let's see what the 5th pick is, as the commissioner is at the podium right now, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the
Colin Sexton going last year. How do they back that up? Darius Garland, point guard out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that's about where everyone thought he was going to be. This is where, and this goes back to G Money's question. The deal was going to be that the wings in this draft were going to start flying off right at 3. 3 and 4 were going to be the wing spots, followed by the point guards in the draft. And so when you were sitting at 8, the fear was that you were going to get, for lack of a better term, the leftover wings, the 4th and 5th, 6th best wings in this draft, because you're not looking for a point guard. At that point, something slides to you like a Kobe White. I don't need one of those from North Carolina. I need to find something a little bit different to profile with my team. And so, yeah, if it's worth going up to get that kind of a player, to get the 2nd best wing in the draft, do so.
It looks like they're going to have a pretty good backcourt. When you talk about Colin Sexton last year and Darius Garland, you want to talk about a team that can play with some pace, it's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers as they try to rebuild after LeBron James leaves them. More questions and comments coming in. The people are interested.
Let's see. I'm having to go back through on our chat just to see what we got. Murph, what else do you got here for us?
What are they targeting at pick number 10 when that rolls around?
What are they picking at? What are they looking for at 10?
I hope Cam Reddish is there. I think he will be the most athletic guy remaining. The question I have, Los, is do you draft your young big guy? You do have a missing piece at center. Alex Lynn, I like Alex Lynn for the Atlanta Hawks.
For his role.
He can be a guy coming off the bench. He clearly can shoot the three. He clearly works well with the offense. I don't know if he's your starter as you continue to move. Had no problem with the center position, but you can't upgrade. To me, that's something you can address in free agency or maybe in years to come. I say go get another talented player. And if Cameron Reddish is sitting right there at 10, my goodness, man, go get him.
I need to start thinking about defensive influences, even though we're not a crazy defensive thing in this league. The reason why, at a certain point on an NBA team, everyone has a defined role. And I understand that my role, if I'm Trae Young, is I'm a shot maker, I'm a shot creator, and that is my job. Whether I play some defense, it'd be nice, but that's not exactly my role. Hunter, I'm a shot maker, I'm a defensive guy. Collins, I'm a finisher, I'm an influencer at the rim, I grab rebounds. If I've got a 5 and his job is hit the open 3, rebound, and play defense, I'm not fully against that. And so I start thinking you have to start thinking about what the player's going to profile to be for you. Cam Reddish, you're right. If he gets down to you, I probably wouldn't mind it, but I have to also start thinking about how a guy's going to fit within what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, and when you talk about fit, I don't have a problem with Dwayne Dedmon if we were a more experienced team, closer to where we want to be.
Agreed.
He's perfect for what we need. I just think with him coming up, unrestricted free agent, I don't know if it makes sense to use your cap space on him when maybe you can get a significant upgrade in free agency, or you can just wait down the road to get that big guy. So I don't know. Jackson Hayes is somebody that I have been eyeing. The problem is because of his inability right now to shoot, he is not the big guy who can shoot. Everything else, run the floor, defend the rim, make some free throws as a big man, you like, but he isn't that stretch 5 that a lot of folks are putting into their organizations at this point in time.
Yeah, people want somebody who can shoot, and that becomes a big factor with these guys because if they can't space the floor, the defenses are able to lay off and make everything so much more restrictive for everybody else. There's a reason why. That was 4 years ago, 4 years ago, when Al Horford started stepping out to the three-point line and shooting threes, and we were all going, what is he doing?
And Paul Millsap.
But the NBA was changing.
Yes.
And it became a league where you got so many big guys, and they're all athletic, and they can all run, and they can all move. We need to make sure that everybody on the floor creates space so that we can do things offensively.
Now, up next will be the Phoenix Suns. They have Devin Booker. They have DeAndre Ayton. Ayton, one of the finalists for Rookie of the Year.
Well, now, remember, this pick has been moved.
Correct.
This pick has been traded, so now this belongs to Minnesota.
So the Timberwolves got in, and you talk about what they had. What are the Suns trying to get? They clearly moved out of the way. They didn't feel that value was there for the second straight year. So as they try to move and try to get themselves started on being a championship contender out there in the West, where it's going to be really hard.
It takes a while. Well,
that's an interesting move.
Yeah, they got Dario Saric out of this thing, and they were able to hold on to a pick, relatively a high pick, a pick at 11. And so, yeah, as it just kind of recapping here, I think you get to a certain point where you realize there's nothing on this board that excites me. Let me pick up a quality veteran player, somebody that can help me immediately, and then let's go from there.
They got Kelly Oubre Jr. last year, so they have a guy who can stroke it a little bit. They're piecing it together. Be interesting to see what they make of that. The Chicago Bulls also kind of interesting as well. Young team. They play at a high pace. They are, to me, the most hawkish, and I say that to say nice little core, have Zach LaVine. They don't have their superstar as of yet. If one splash goes there, how much could that invigorate them and what they're trying to do up there in the Windy City?
That's the thing, too. You always just need to find that guy in that market because you've got I don't think we can say that they're NBA royalty anymore, but they had an era where they were NBA royalty.
Right.
When you don't win anything for 20 years, that starts to kind of fade away pretty quickly in this league. And so You talk about a really proud franchise that just has to get back going and start picking up the right guys and see if you can put it back together in Chicago.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where they have a lot of flexibility. There's still Jared Culver on the board. There's still Kobe White on the board. There's still Cam Reddish on the board. Does somebody pull the trigger on Cam Reddish before he gets there to the Hawks a little bit later in the draft?
I'll be curious if the discussion about medical problems, if they're legit, then we'll see him fall down the board. And if he gets past 10, now I think that they're really legit.
They know something.
Everybody's going, I don't like something in his medical.
Well, you saw a situation where people were concerned about Michael Porter Jr. last year, and it certainly had some impact. We're going back out to social media. More questions, comments, and concerns?
Let's see. What do you got, Murph?
I was going to say Mike brings up an interesting point, saying we might look like the Nash and Amari Suns pretty soon. What do you think about that comparison?
Ooh. Okay, it's interesting. If I talk about one player that Trae Young reminds me of, it is Steve Nash. It's from the standpoint of Steve was never going to be a great defensive player. He was a really quality shooter, and within that system, I think what really jumps out about him is that he was the guy who would penetrate, create problems with the defense, bring it on out, move around because his handle was so good. I think that's actually a really good comparison to that 2003, 2004 Phoenix Suns team that you hope you can build into.
And look at your shooters now. DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter. You have some guys that do pretty well. And then his own shooting is also going to cause defenses to, probably start guarding him a little bit further out from the basket. And his basketball acumen, maybe he uses that against them and finds a way to get more passes to other guys. As the Suns pick going to Minnesota, they pull the trigger on Jared Culver.
I think that just has to be a pick where you start talking about talent, because you obviously have a shooting guard there, one that's actually very well paid in Minnesota. But if you're talking about just putting the best 5 players on the floor at times, that's where Jared Culver makes sense.
Classic man, classic look, goes with the red suit with the bow tie.
The Texas Tech red.
Can you do bow tie? I can do a clip on.
I
can't do a bow tie.
I've worn one time, and that was to Hoyt's wedding. That's where they wanted us to wear the bow tie.
You need to make sure you have some business going on if you have a bow tie. Like, you just can't show up at a bow tie just going to pick up something from the drive.
No, you know what? Because if you're about a bow tie, like, you either look one of two ways. You look really sharp, or you look like you're there for bits. It's like, I'm here to make jokes and do stupid stuff.
So Jared Culver now going to Minnesota. I would not have minded if the Hawks took a gamble with him, but the bottom line is they got their guy, and now he's off the board, headed to Minnesota. Coming up now, we'll see if there'll be any more trades as people try to dip into the top 10.
All right, let's play this out mentally in chat. Y'all are all part of this as well. Had you been sitting with 8 and 10, right now we would have seen Hunter gone.
1.
Would have seen Culver gone.
2.
And now I'm starting to go, all right, I have to start thinking about Reddish, because the next couple of guys are point guards that are not a big help to me.
You don't need them.
This was a scenario that Travis Schlenk clearly looked at and said, we can't allow this to happen for the amount of firepower that we have in this draft.
Which is why he's already won. He went and got the most valuable guy he could get with the assets that he had. The one thing you don't want to be, certainly you want assets. You want good players. You want guys that are trending up. You want a likable team. You don't want to end up like, I hate to say it, a point where the Boston Celtics are now, where a couple of years ago they had 4,000 draft picks, and they had an ability to be very flexible. They tried some things, and now those things didn't work out. Doesn't look like Gordon Hayward is working out like they wanted to. Kyrie Irving's not in for the long haul. We don't know if Al Horford's in for the long haul. And now you still had all those draft picks that didn't yield you a trip to the NBA Finals.
I'll tell you, I love that comparison, because I had talked a little bit about them on Buck and Kincaid today. Just the discussion point of what happens when you get close, you become a destination, but you make the wrong decisions on veteran guys. That's a deal where 3 years ago, even 2 years ago, you were looking at them and going, man, they just need that little extra stuff, and they have all the cap room to go grab 2 guys and make that happen. Hayward, obviously, the injury that he suffered that opening night of being a Boston Celtic, that has taken some legs away from him. And the fact that you went with crazy Kyrie, who's softer than Charmin, that's the point now where you're just like, okay, what do I have left? I'm in a position where nobody will take my players or my picks. I missed out on Anthony Davis, who flat out said, if I go there, I ain't signing there. It's a really tough place for them to be in.
The worst thing you can have in sports is a franchise where people don't want to be a part of it. And so I wonder if there's going to be a shift. Traditionally, if you look at the history of the NBA and the history of free agency, Free agents go to just a few teams and a few cities. They go to New York. They go to Florida to play with the Heat. They go out to L.A. They go to a team in Texas. And that's pretty much it. Could this be a renaissance where you might see people starting to go to the Clippers? You might see people starting to come to the Hawks. You might see people starting to go to Memphis and play with Ja Morant. Maybe they want to go to New Orleans. Is this maybe a renaissance that we might be a part of that we see in the last 2 years?
Make it cool. That's the whole key. Make it cool, make it interesting, and if you do that, well, then the players will follow. There's nowhere that you cannot make into a destination. I mean, Toronto just won a championship. There are people that would go, you know what? Toronto's a pretty cool city. I'll go play there for a year or two. We'll see how it all plays out with Kawhi, and I think there's going to be a big shakeup there. But there's going to be people looking and saying, you know what? I can be the missing piece in Milwaukee. Milwaukee.
That'll be a litmus test.
It's going to be one of those. Milwaukee.
Good cheese, good beer, good football, and a good player in Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Coming to your baby park.
Yes, a lot of fun. Some interesting names. Bowl, obviously still on the board. Nasir Little, Kobe White. There's still some guys out there that are interesting, intriguing, fun to watch, and maybe, could be some difference makers early here in the NBA draft.
Okay, so just going back here, and Chancellor brings it up on the chat. Reddish, Goga. These are the guys that would have been sitting there for you where you just go,
oh, boy.
I'm not a giant Cam Reddish guy. I recognize the game.
Because of the injury, or because you just don't believe, because of the injury or because he's overhyped?
Okay. I think the weirdest part of the college basketball season for me was, man, why is he not playing in a tournament game? And then why is he back? Like, there's things like that where you go, what did you do? It wasn't an injury. At least I don't believe it was.
Well, we never know.
But we never know. And so, but you don't have a scene at Duke where, hey, guess what? One of their elite players just disappears for a game, and then he's back. It's like, that doesn't happen.
But do you want to hold what a teenager did or didn't do against him for a man when he's 25 who could possibly make a difference in the NBA?
Here's my thing. Money just accentuates whatever you are. If you're a kind person, you tend to get kind. You tend to get more giving.
It exposes your vices and your great qualities.
It's like it turns it up to 11.
Okay.
You're on a 2, and you know what? Hey, listen, I can't keep my head straight, can't take care of my business at college. It suddenly goes up to 11 when you give me money.
Windy City on the board. The Chicago Bulls looking to get back to their glory days. Adam Silver is at the podium. They make the selection, and guess what? They are getting themselves a bona fide point guard in Kobe White out of North Carolina.
He's a good ball player. I enjoyed watching him here in the air. Yeah, smart ball player, can handle the ball. Obviously, great handle with him and able to get to anywhere he wants to on the court. It just seemed like a guy that when you talk about hitting big shots, he was the guy who was hitting big shots for that team.
Where's Roy? Roy should be there.
Yeah.
Where's Roy Williams?
Where's Roy?
Oh, Roy. What's he doing? Get him a seat at the table. He's supposed to be there for a player of that ilk. So there you go. They go to point guard. So now you get to a situation where you get to the number 8 pick, to your point, where the Hawks would have been. You didn't need Kobe White because we already have a point guard. Jarrett Culver would have been gone. DeAndre Hunter would have been gone. So right now, I don't know how the Hawks lose. I don't know how the Hawks have already won their draft portion. Now it's time for gravy, and it's time for dessert.
I still want a player. I got 2 picks in the top 10, and I already grabbed one of the elite players in this draft. It's now time for me to get another interesting player, and again, entirely based off what Travis Schlenk likes and what he projects.
I like the look. Clean classic. Blue jacket and suit, white shirt, black tie. That's going to look good 10 years from now when they go back through this draft and go through the wardrobe.
I love watching him with the basketball. It's just...
He's so smart.
He's so smart. He's like I said, that handle to him, but the speed by which he starts attacking the defense is so impressive.
Just look
at him. It's awesome.
There's so many people that play fast, but they play out of control.
Yeah.
He plays fast, and he's thinking about what he's doing. He waits for his screens to be set. He's not afraid to attack. And I think the big thing about him not being one of the bigger players, good size on him at 6'5", he's not one of those guys driving at 100 miles an hour and then getting knocked down on the floor. I think that's something that Trae Young is going to have to learn, protecting himself so that over the years, those crashes, those bumps and bruises don't accumulate and take stuff away from you as you become an older player.
The thing that really jumps out to me about him is just, as you said, the decision-making at the speed that he goes. And I just think it's something that's really impressive about his game.
Now, here's the pick that the Hawks traded to the New Orleans Pelicans. What are the Pelicans going to add to Zion Williamson? What are they going to add to Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram? Those are the players that they have in-house. What are they going to add now? You talk about a franchise that can go from really not mattering, even you could argue when Anthony Davis was there, to now all of a sudden maybe in 2 or 3 years being somebody that you don't want to mess with too much on an NBA basketball floor.
It's going to be fascinating to see how quickly it comes together. That ends up being the thing about it, is that you kind of expect, hey, Zion's going to make you, hopefully you won't drop off as far when you move your best player. But with all these young pieces, how quickly can you then get it accelerated going forward again?
You want to be a part of the discussion? Hashtag 680 Draft. You can also follow us at 680thefan.com.
Hey, Chad in Hawaii's here. What's up,
You can
Chad?
follow us at 680thefan on our Twitter handle. And Los, they can find you where?
At Front Office Los on Twitter.
Find me at Hometeam.
And in front of these cameras.
B Leak here on YouTube Live. We'll go back out to social media. Murph, what are the people asking? What are the people saying?
Yeah, Chancellor's been with us all night, and he asked a great question, which I think you were alluding to, Los. How much does number 10 contribute this year? How much does pick number 10 contribute this year for the Hawks?
It depends where you go. You're reaching the point in this draft where there are so many guys, especially there's so many foreign players and one-and-done guys, where there's going to be a developmental time for them. And so this is where you just have to trust in Travis Schlenk. Do you believe that if you take the guy with the high upside, maybe you don't get a whole lot the first year? Or do you go with somebody who's more college ready, who's more ready to be able to get on a floor and do something for you? And so for me, because I'm trying to hit home runs and I'm not trying to be good immediately next year, give me the guy with the upside.
Yeah, I'm in a let's hurry up and wait mode because, yeah, you want to see somebody come in and make a contribution, but there's really not a lot of pressure on who number 10 is going to be. Certainly you don't want anybody missing. You don't want to not get any production from a number 10 pick in the NBA draft, a lottery pick still. But I think the way that things are set up, this person, whoever's going to be, if they make it, what if he gets a little funky and decides to go backwards a little bit, pick up a couple of extra picks in the first round? We don't know yet. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think the number 10 will have as many expectations on him as Trae Young, as John Collins, as DeAndre Hunter, and Kevin Huerter will.
Well, no, I'll tell you this. I already drafted my 35-minute player. That's Hunter for me. So now it turns into, yeah, I'd like to have somebody that I could say, this guy's going to be an important part of my rotation within a year or two, but it doesn't have to be next year. And so I'm wide open to give me the most talented guy that you project to be the best player in a couple of years.
And don't forget, Chancellor, very good question. Free agency is a big part of this too. Do you want to pony up now for maybe not the superstar, but somebody who's a solid piece? I don't know how you feel about this. I'm a guy, Los, Nikola Vucevic. If you get him out of Orlando, 7 foot, double digits, stroke to 3, you put him in as our center, you give me Alex Lynn off the bench, I'm running with that. I'm spending my parking money and my popcorn money on some of that.
I don't know how long you've been chasing that player. As long as I've known you, what you do, and it's funny how often this happens. Home team falls in love with different centers around the league. And it's, like at one point he's like, man, Dampier here in a Hawks jersey. Oh man, what if that happened?
I was drinking the Dampier juice.
There's, man, Whiteside. If we could just get Whiteside free, it's always
Boogie can be had. Boogie.
That's an important factor. That if I can get somebody who can play away from the basket yet be a force down there, that's the modern NBA big man, and that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So there are going to be expectations. I don't think whoever 10 is. The question is, what is it? Is it Cameron Reddish? Are they scared off by the injury concerns and whatever else was going on? Is he not worth the hype that a lot of people, or that Travis Schlenk thinks that he is? Do you take a flyer on somebody else? Sekou Doumbouya? Who is the guy? What is the player? What is the fit? Do you take a stab at something? The thing that I like is I don't think any of the picks we've seen Travis Schlenk make, none of them are reaches.
No.
They're all solid. They all make sense. They all fit into what he and what Coach Lloyd Pierce want to do. They all make sense. They all have worked out so far.
And as you said, you haven't reached. You haven't taken one player where you went, oh, that guy, the value of what he's supposed to be or how he's projected by the rest of the league. The rest of the league looked at a guy like DeAndre Hunter and said, well, he's a top 5 player in this draft. It's just a matter of, do you want the D guy or do you want the offensive guy? Because you're going to get a little both, but more D. That's the direction they went. By the way, Trey Bliss wants to let you know that pitch and putt and DeKalb Bottle House both offer drive-through liquor sales in Atlanta.
How about that? It still exists.
They still exist.
Does anybody have a picture of that? I would like to see.
Drive-through liquor store?
That does help. If you know what you want, you don't have to get out to get it.
This is what they did, like in Texas. They would have these barns. And so you technically were driving into the convenience store. And so you were surrounded by coolers and stuff. So you would basically not get out of your car, make your purchase. They would hand it over to you and you would drive off. That's how they were able to get away from not having just the regular windows.
So the history books will show that the Hawks picked at number 8. That has been traded to the New Orleans Pelicans. And with the 8th pick, the selection, Jackson Hayes, the center out of Texas. He is going to be in the Big Easy. So look at what they have when you talk about starting things over. At point guard, Lonzo Ball. You got a wing guy in Brandon Ingram. You got a shooter in Josh Hart. You got a big man and your superstar in Lonzo or in Zion Williamson. And now you got your center in Jackson Hayes.
This is a fascinating guy just because of, and it's flashing across the screen, he went through a wild growth spurt where he gained basically a foot. And so you're talking about a guy who, as a player, has been a guard who suddenly was thrust into the world of, now you got to figure out how to play big.
That's what happened to Anthony Davis. When he went through he was a guard who all of a sudden got 5 inches all over summer, and now all of a sudden he's a center.
Anthony Davis, David Robinson, Jackson Hayes. Those are the types of guys where they're good athletes, and then suddenly, oh my God, I'm 7 foot. Okay, now you got to figure out how to play in that type of body.
All right, we'll take a break and be back. We'll see if we can get some more inside information. The Hawks coming up with the 10th pick coming up shortly. We'll see how they do things. Follow us at 680thefan.com. Make sure you use the hashtag 680draft, and make sure you follow us here on the live stream. Home Team in Los Medina. We'll be right back.
Atlanta Braves baseball every night on just one sports station.
Here's the pitch, and it's ripped deep to left. Granderson back at the track, looks up. She's gone! Ronald Acuna has tied the game.
Proud to be Atlanta's 10-year home of the Braves.
3-run blast to left.
The Fan 680 and 93.7 FM.
Last year, over 20,000 people experienced the passion, the excitement, and the fun of the Fan Family Station's tailgate parties.
Hey, and this year we look forward to setting another attendance record with bigger, better, and tastier tailgate. And the best part? It's free.
The best part is libations. You know, the liquid from the country's biggest and best hydration experts. Corona, Larceny Bourbon, Bud Light, and of course, Burnett's Vodka.
And it's still free?
Go to 680thefan.com and click on the tailgate tab for more information.
Be a part of radio history here in Atlanta by securing the 680 The Fan 25th Anniversary Retro T-shirt, like Hudson Mason and I are wearing right now.
Great thing is all proceeds will go to a great cause. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, all the great folks over there will benefit from it. You can get your shirt and hat, trucker hat. That's always great for the summertime. 680thefan.com/retrobug. People may get that confused with Metro because we're going to look so good in it.
Don't fool around. Do it now and be looking good.
Welcome back in to the live stream. We are going here until a little bit after the 10th pick, maybe a little bit after 9. Who knows? The party continues.
Do you know Murph quit the church?
No.
Yeah.
That hurts my heart. Now, that guy, he gave me a lot of hope looking into that kind of dedication. He and the missus dedicated. What happened?
I don't know. But all I know is that I came into work. I came into work and he just goes, hey, so I quit the church. And I was like, oh, that's too bad.
Well, like all of us now, he's one of us. He's a work in progress.
Yeah, he sure is.
We'll go out to Murph, go back out to social media. If you haven't heard, you're just getting back in. The Hawks made a trade. They take the 8th pick and they take the 17th pick that they acquired. Sent that package to New Orleans. They got up to number 4, and they took DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year nationally, 50% shooter, 18 points a game, nearly 43% from the three-point line, and a guy who's 6'7", 225. Not a bad way to get the number 4 pick. The Wizards are on the board at number 9. The Hawks will pick at number 10. Hawks just waiting for this Wizard selection before they get through, and the Wizards with their selection, surprised they didn't make any moves. They go with Rui Hachimura.
Yeah, Rui Hachimura. That's a fun one.
The first ever Japanese-born player to be drafted in the first round.
Yeah, out of Gonzaga. So, you are talking about a pretty interesting player. And you had so many teams from about 10 to 21 that had all talked about this was going to be a guy that was not going to escape through the 20s, that somebody was going to make this pick.
Learn to speak English in college. So an interesting story. Athletic energy. He was an energy guy. We'll see what he turns out to be. I don't know how soon his game will translate to the NBA, but I don't think a bad pick at that selection.
This is the difference in why Travis Schlenk moved up, because we're now into projection period.
Oh, boy.
From 8, 9, and moving forward. You're not supposed to get there that quickly. This essentially was a draft where the top 5 players are the guys, probably about top 7 because of the point guards, where you felt very comfortable with this. These guys are going to be potentially 35, 40-minute-a-game players.
Let's go back out to social media. Murph, who is looking for a church home, if you can help him, please. Feel free to tweet and text that out as well. What are the folks saying?
The answer is Jesus.
Yeah, thank you. Please pray for me. In the meantime, Donald asks, speaking of the trade, Solomon Hill comes over. Do the Hawks hold on to Solomon Hill for this season?
N-O-E. No. Yes, for emphasis.
No,
keep doing it long enough and they'll add it to the dictionary.
What's going to happen is he's going to play this year.
That's right.
He's a little bit over $12 million in salary. So this is going to be another one of those players that is going to be strictly a rental. He'll be here, and then it is available cap space. Every single move that Travis Schlenk has made over the last 2 years, it's been with the belief that as this thing gets better, they want to have cap space. That's why Crabbe is here. That is why Hill is here. That's why they'll ride out what they're going to ride out with the guys they have in Len and other people. $45 million potentially off your cap next year. That's stuff you can jump out there and grab a max player.
Very good question.
All right, and then Kevin D., maybe a question we're all thinking about. So are we now forever comparing DeAndre Hunter and Jackson Hayes with the swap of those picks?
My brain isn't in that mode. That's an interesting question because it's what you could have had. So my question is, did you give up too much? If you feel like you gave up too much to get DeAndre Hunter, or if you don't think DeAndre Hunter is the guy, I guess you could go that route. What I'm thinking is Travis Schlenk really wanted him. He's tried for the last 48 hours to get up to as far as 3, according to the reports, when he tried to make a deal with the Knicks. So I would not look at it that way. I would look at it as more of DeAndre Hunter is viewed as elite in Travis Schlenk's mind as compared to the other guys that went before him, John Morant, RJ Barrett, and Zion. So I would compare to see where he falls and how quickly he develops for the Hawks in this regime.
This would be my answer to it. As far as guys that are 30, 35 minute per game players, that group essentially was off the board after about the first 6 or 7 picks. So now you're going to have a lot of these guys where you hope they develop into that, but you don't know, and quite honestly, they're not going to play heavy minutes in this league until they get bigger, stronger, and more apt to have their game translate to it. With that being said, I'm going to have Hunter playing 30, 35 minutes a game. Hayes is going to have trouble getting 15 minutes a game in this league. And so that's where, if you want to talk about a comparison, I just think one guy's game is much more suited for the NBA right now, and that's the difference why you go up and do that.
Yeah, you don't want to be guessing. You want to eliminate the guessing. There's no guess. You know you get a solid player with DeAndre Hunter coming in.
Nasir Little still on the board.
Oh, boy. All right, now it's decision time.
We're coming. We're down to 2.5 minutes or so.
Travis Schlenk's night won't be over, but it pretty much ends here when you start talking about what you could get. Last year, it was a good pick when he got Luka Doncic and then traded him for Trae Young. Concerns early when Trae was shooting 23% from behind the three-point arc till about December, figured some things out, and then went on a tear at the end of the season, figured it out, and things worked out well. What is going to be the completion of this last 2-year run for Travis Schlenk and his lottery picks that he was given up front?
I'm so excited about this pick. What do you want? What do you want right now? Because Cam Reddish is there.
Just take Reddish.
I'm just telling you that if he goes beyond 10, now I think that the reports of a medical, I think, get more legit.
Travis Schlenk should have the same information. He should have the same rumors, the same intel as these other guys and other scouts around the NBA. Boy, if Nasir Little is there, though, you just threw out a name. That's a little bit interesting.
Nasir Little is interesting because you are talking about a former 5-star guy who played his year over at Carolina, Another legit big body guy, 6'7", 220. He's got athleticism. For him, so much of the game is when's his handle going to get better?
Right.
When is he going to be a guy who can put the ball on the floor with his size?
If you're talking about that guy who's, doesn't mind banging, doesn't mind doing some dirty work, solid game, but not really something that's superstar-ish. What about Brandon Clark out of Gonzaga?
Another option.
He's a solid player. Now you're talking about pieces and talking about guys who play the way this game needs to be played here in the A. I don't have a problem if they go and pull Brandon Clark off the board.
Man, you got a lot of people in here. Even Frank Duffy, Brian Booker. What's up, Book? All talking about Reddish. Reddish is the pick here.
Just
Reddish
take
is
it,
the
man. Just take Cam Reddish. Be done with it. You got an exciting athletic player. Might have that little bit of dog in him, that little extra. You like your food, the sauce. It's
got
the
a little sauce to it.
He has a little bit of sauce. Get somebody with some sauce on him.
How have we not managed to make this more about hustle and flow? Because I tried earlier, but I don't know how I would compare.
Well, the language was a little bit blue. Skinny Black certainly did do the right thing in the bathroom stall.
Is he the skinny black of this group of guys still left on here? The star?
We want a DJ. Who's the guy that you're not quite putting all your faith in, but you know what? He had it in him the whole time. We need the DJ.
At the heart.
DJ Main. That's what he said.
See, we can be, what is it? I'm Big 5-0, he's Little 5-0.
Yeah, you want something along those lines.
That's what I want. I already got Big 5-0. I need to draft Little 5-0 at number 10 here.
Brandon Clark, Nasir Little. Boy, I mean.
Or do you go pure projection on a guy? Because that's where we're at. This quickly, that's where it's happened.
Is it okay? Because you're going to need some size. At some point, these wings and these small forwards and these combo, guys, you're going to need a little beef at some point. Play a little defense and stop people from running to the rack.
You're going to end up with bowl. I'm kidding. I don't know. I'm just. Don't do that. I'm hypothetically throwing it out there that what if this?
Let me ask you this hypothetical.
Okay.
You take Cam Reddish. He's got injury problems. He doesn't work out.
Okay.
Say he doesn't work out. Is that a slip up? Can you forgive that? Is that forgivable where we are and what Travis Schlenk is doing?
In this draft, I'll tell you right now, I don't need 3 or 4 years down the road to tell you in this draft, the way it's come together, this is essentially, we've now reached the area where it's what you like. That's the exact thing that people kept bringing up. The tragedy of lottery night was not getting a top 5 pick. You had to move to go get one.
Here we go. This is going into the Hawks history books. Adam Silver is at the podium. The Atlanta Hawks picking at number 10. And they go.
And they go with him. Cam Reddish.
My man.
You got Cam Reddish.
They got my man. Don't worry about it. Now, you can look at Travis Schlenk and say that this man has done the best he could do with the picks that he had.
In a 2-year period, this is very impressive. The amount of young talent that they've been able to stack together on this thing. You're still going to need some vets, and I think that's free agency. It's about making sure you have the right guys out there because you don't want the blind leading the blind. You don't want kids playing with kids. You still need some vets. But this is interesting.
You're going to get your money's worth. You're going to get your money's worth when you go down there to State Farm Arena because you added more athleticism. You added the best possible player you could at the 4th pick. It was not a situation where we saw in years past you had a Chris Paul or Darren Williams left on the board and the Hawks didn't take those guys. I think you got the very best players you could with the picks you got at 4 and 10.
Let's play this game then. Let's play this game. By the way, John Kincaid joining in just saying, I can't believe they got Reddish and Hunter. Now, here's the fun part, and this is when now that we got the complete picture. You would have been in a scenario where you would have gotten Reddish at 10 and Jackson Hayes at 8 versus Reddish and Hunter.
Where do you think you would rather be?
Reddish and Hunter.
I'm with you. Where did our GM get us?
Reddish and Hunter.
Travis Schlenk, another W for Hawk Nation. True to Atlanta, baby. I like this pick. I don't know. What I'm interested to hear now on social media and tomorrow in the coming weeks, how do you have a problem with any of this? What is your problem with any of this? Without trading any more assets, what else could you get? This guy is looking to take big shots. He is athletic. He's a guy who's got a long wingspan. Do we have to worry about the three-point shooting a little bit? Maybe. But he is a combo guy in a league that can use a player like this. Travis Schlenk, my man has done it again.
How about this? Frank Duffy, yes, Reddish. Chancellor Lester, Lowson home team. How nice is it not to fear draft night? Chad in Hawaii, Reddish. Chad Umbarger, everyone is happy. Let's see. Kevin D, Trey plus Reddish, more than Luca. Let's see. SC2 Thrash Metal, Schlenk is a legend. Another one from Frank, no Billy Knight here.
I think we just created a verb, schlinked.
Schlinked.
I think the league just got schlinked. You let him in, you gave him an access code, and he was able to get more than he was supposed to come out of here with. We just went, like I said at the beginning of this broadcast, 18 months ago, a coachless team, a starless team, a team that was rudderless. Now you have a young coach. Now you have Trey Young. Now you have DeAndre Hunter. And now you have Cam Reddish with John Collins and Kevin Herter. Who's mad about where you were and where you are?
And keep this in mind as well. Your next pick wouldn't have been until 17 as we get further down into this area of developmental talent. I'm telling you, I got Hunter, I got Reddish. Otherwise, I got Reddish and I got Jackson Hayes. No comparison. I got the best defensive wing in this draft and a developmental guy that I go, pretty talented. I mean, you're seriously pretty talented where you were the number 3 at Duke behind guys that went in the top 3.
Yeah, and no false promises, no hopes build up. We might be able to get somebody and then the air comes out of the balloon. Solid, very solid picks that certainly fit the best players I thought that go right now with what Lloyd Pierce is going to do. And now a coach who is charged with making this team better defensively and still making them a very aggressive and very efficient team offensively. This team and this franchise right now is in a place we haven't seen in a long time and maybe never before.
Let's go to Godless Murphy.
Mike points out that we should be talking tits. Trust in Travis Schlenk.
Trust in Travis Schlenk. I like that acronym. That's.
Thank you, Mike.
Do we have to use that pronunciation?
Let's just say.
Can we go T-E-A-T?
Yeah.
Because a teat is something that you eat off of.
Like a teat
and
you
provide
can say.
sustenance.
Right. Like one of them.
Work on that acronym.
One of them is not. We can't really say it on the air. Like teats, you can.
Oh.
Teats not a problem. So see if we can remake that into a teat.
Tonight, everyone, Atlanta is
all about
is
tits.
Treated. I'd rather not use that.
Teats.
Yeah, I'd rather go with teat if you have to go with that. So pretty interesting. But, somebody made a good point. We don't have to fear draft night. Trey Young already tweeted. Let's go. Welcome to the fam. Cam Reddish. Let's work.
That's you're right. I keep talking about if you trust in Travis Schlenk and you realize the kind of evaluator of talent that he is, you don't go into a draft night, and you and I were there when it happened. We keep hearing about Sheldon Williams.
Oh,
no
my
way they're
God.
going to take Sheldon at 5.
Oh, my God.
And remember what he told us? I am the basketball expert. That was what Billy Knight told us.
Billy, what were you doing?
You're in a different world now.
5th pick, were you entertaining any call? I was walking the dog.
I was walking the dog.
Unbelievable. But now we don't have to worry about that. That's a part of our history. And I think Travis Schlenk right now is working. You have to give, when things, come together, you have to give Tony Ressler.
Thank you, Frank.
A whole lot of credit. You have to give Travis Schlenk a whole lot of credit. And you have to give Hawks Nation a lot of credit for being patient, not trying to jump the gun, not acting crazy, not acting ungrateful. We're in a really good place right now. We're in a lot better place than we've been in really the last 15, 20 years. And we should all watch this team grow and have fun together watching them grow.
Right off the board that was Kincaid's guy today, was Cameron Johnson.
Good player.
He was hoping he would get to 17, because that's another one of those stretch guys that can drill the three-pointer. And
he's lanky.
He shoots it at a 45% clip. That's pretty impressive for college basketball. And he built himself into that. He was a guy who played 5 years there. He leaves North Carolina as a 23-year-old man.
Big wingspan. He can drive to the basket and make you respect his three-point shooting. So there you go. Next up will be the Charlotte Hornets, who might be losing Kemba Walker. He might entertain taking less than a supermax if they can put some things together. I think he's gone.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to go in a different direction. They didn't make the playoffs last year. Charlotte with a chance now to get what's left on the board. And now I feel even better that we are not a team this far down and now you don't want to call it the clearance bin, but it's not the same draft right now that it was 45 minutes ago.
All right, well, let's take a break, and we will check back in over in Brooklyn with the Drop Step boys and see what the reaction is to these picks. I heard they actually rode up to Brooklyn sidecar.
Oh.
One on the motorcycle, the other in the sidecar.
There you go. They are a very tight-knit group. We'll get to them. Boots on the ground from the draft. We'll get to that. More to come. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on the NBA Draft Live Show. Home Team in Los Medina. 680 The Fan. Remember, hashtag 680 Draft. And remember to stream here on 680thefan.com.
Atlanta Braves baseball every night on just one sports station.
Here's the pitch, and it's ripped deep to left. Granderson back at the track, looks up. She's gone! Ronald Acuna has tied the game.
Proud to be Atlanta's 10-year home of the Braves.
3-run blast to left.
The Fan 680 and 93.7 FM.
Last year, over 20,000 people experienced the passion, the excitement, and the fun of the Fan Family Station's tailgate parties.
Hey, and this year we look forward to setting another attendance record with bigger, better, and tastier tailgate. And the best part? It's free.
The best part is libations. You know, the liquid from the country's biggest and best hydration experts. Corona, Larceny Bourbon, Bud Light, and of course, Burnett's Vodka.
And it's still free?
Go to 680thefan.com and click on the Tailgate tab for more information.
Be a part of radio history here in Atlanta by securing the 680 The Fan 25th Anniversary Retro T-shirt, like Hudson Mason and I are wearing right now.
Great thing is all proceeds will go to a great cause. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, all the great folks over there will benefit from it. You can get your shirt and hat, trucker hat. That's always great for the summertime. 680thefan.com/retrobug. People may get that confused with Metro because we're going to look so good in it.
Don't fool around. Do it now and be looking good.
Welcome back in to the 2019 680 Draft Show. Home Team from the Sports X, along with funky cold Medina, Los Medina. We are here as we get ready to wrap things up. We'll get a chance to go back out to Brooklyn. We'll get a chance to get to our boots on the ground part of the Drop Step podcast that we have here in the studios of Dickey Broadcasting. We'll go out and we'll talk to Houston Jamison, who is live and ready in the building up there in Brooklyn. And it looks like the Hawks did some good things. It looks like the Hawks did some right things. And it looks like the Hawks got the best value for everything that was available to them. What do you think, and what was the mood there up in New York City?
Spectacular moves by Schlink and the Hawks. For them to be able to pull Cam Reddish out at 10, I didn't see it happening. I could have sworn he would have been gone definitely by the 8th pick that we no longer had, but we were able to still hold on to him. I was kind of weirded out by the fact that Jackson Hayes was going to New Orleans. I thought we might get him instead of Cam, but either way it goes, I'm happy with the pick so far.
Yeah, that was one of the questions we just took. Was that a mistake? You know, making the move to give up the pick to get DeAndre Hunter. Was it better to wait around and maybe get Jackson Hayes? I like what the Hawks got. They went in here. They didn't know how it was going to turn out. They come out of here with DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. I don't have a problem at all with what Travis Schlink did tonight.
Exactly, and they really kind of balance each other out because you have Cam Reddish, who we know can score from anywhere on the floor. He can handle the rock, he can get to the hoop, good at the three. But you also have Hunter, who he's not as great on the offensive side, but he gives you all the defense that you need. So we're able to kind of mix and match weaknesses and strengths with both of these guys.
When you talk about value, I think that the Hawks got good value. The question is now, where do you go? You still don't have Mystery Center X. Is it going to be Alex Len? Is it going to be somebody in free agency? Are you not that concerned about it right now? What do you do now that pretty much your draft, your big guns are done now that Travis Schlink has moved up for 4 and taking care of business at 10?
Honestly, I'm okay with where we're at. If we were to go into free agency, I would hopefully look to get somebody like Clint Capella. But if we were to stay put with Alex Len, maybe we're able to work something out with Dwayne Dedmon to see if he can stick around for another year. I think we're fine at the big. It would be nice to have a star type of big, but we're good. And with all the other supplementary pieces we have, the team's good to go for the next few years.
And when you talk about New Orleans, yeah, they're pretty good. Zion Williamson, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Jackson Hayes, Josh Hart. They can do a little bit of basketball playing and ball movement and have an exciting product, I think, with what they've acquired in just a few weeks.
Yeah, they did. This is going to be a very good young team coming into this next year. I don't look to them to make the playoffs, but they're probably going to push for a spot. They're probably going to be around that 9th, 10th seed this year.
Are you done with the serious questions?
I'm done now. Now we can loosen up a little bit. We're done. The draft is over. The Hawks won.
Have you ever farted so hard you're worried you bled? Because, like...
What?
Yeah, you might need to go see a gastro doctor. You didn't. That was a mistake. You didn't hear what you thought you heard.
I exploded all of my sin.
I'm the one with the gut problem.
Yeah, you haven't had that problem, nor have you discussed it in front of a bunch of people on a live stream.
Right.
Your thoughts on just the vibe, how all of the guys that went, there weren't any boos tonight when you saw guys being selected from some of the fans or people who usually are heard when they don't get what they want.
Right. The only boos that I heard tonight was when Adam Silver came out there in the first pick and said that they were now on the clock. Everybody knew who the pick was. That was the only boos that we got tonight. Otherwise, it's been a very lively crowd. When New York selected, who was it? I'm sorry, RJ
Barrett, yeah.
At number 3, the crowd went nuts. So even though we were in Brooklyn and we're in the Barclays Center, the Brooklyn fans were saying Brooklyn's better, but the Knicks fans were all over the place. So it's been a pretty good one. And actually, there was a lot of excitement about the Hawks picks as well. Looks like the Hawks, like you said earlier, are a team that's on the come up for as far as national spotlight this year.
Yeah, I don't think anybody made any mistakes. Everybody, made solid picks. After the top 3, you needed to make sure you decided right. I don't see any blunders so far. It looks like the folks that needed certain pieces got the pieces and the players they needed.
And I think that's really the thing to take away is that you had a scenario where because of the lack of depth in this draft, it was about don't overthink this thing, grab the guys where you're supposed to, and then as we get to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, grab players that fit your system that you believe can be a rotational piece at some point.
Exactly. That's exactly what they've done so far. Seems like the draft is going as scheduled right now, I can't see any more hiccups coming. It's going to be interesting to see how the last few picks turn out. But at this point, the Hawks, we're done. We're winners at this point, and I can't wait to see what next season looks like.
Well, thanks for y'all's work. Excellent work with boots on the ground. I know Brandon is now back there talking to Zion Williamson. You're going to be back there talking to some of the players, be able to look them in the eye and get their first reaction. We'll be looking forward to hearing when you guys get back to the A, some of the info and some of the stories you bring back with you.
Oh, I got my own little brag right now. I got Cam Reddish's official first A.
Oh, nice.
I'll post that picture later on. So I'll check it out.
He already fits in.
Good.
Thanks, Jameis. Thanks to B-Dog, Brandon Harper for their work, live coverage from Brooklyn at the draft. So, hey, we're done. Travis Schlink is done. I don't know what else the man can do. He wasn't walking his dog. There's nobody going silent with these draft picks. Everybody should be pretty much happy. You don't have to agree with everything. There could be some question about Jackson Hayes. Could be some questions about, did you give up too much to get DeAndre Hunter? But I think once these guys get on the court, the style of play and the talent we just acquired, you cannot be upset when you're talking about a man who had nothing when he came in here, and now he's got a whole bunch of something.
This is my last thing. Considering the level of disappointment that we had on draft lottery night, and when we looked at what was going on and we saw 8 and 10, to then see what happens when the right guy making the picks, making the selections, making the moves, gets the opportunity to do what he did to the league, he just got two of the best players that were in this draft, and he did it in a masterful fashion with an afternoon trade and letting the draft come to him on guys that he had already looked at and liked. You walk out of this thing with 2 top 10 picks and both guys saying, that's one of the best players in the ACC, that's one of the best players in the ACC.
I think it is much better than where we've been. It is a sign of where we are going. And I think Hawks fans can be proud of their GM, of their franchise, of their owner, of the organization, and we can have fun watching this team grow, win games, and build towards a championship.
Why don't you sign us off? Let's go party with this thing.
Yeah, I'm ready to go have a couple of beverages and find a church maybe for Murph.
For Murph. Poor Murph, he left the church.
Yes, we can find some salvation for ourselves and for him.
I certainly hope we can.
I want to say thanks to everybody who participated online. Thanks to all the folks who were a part of the live chat. I want to say thanks to all the folks behind the scenes. One of the greatest interns of all time, Drew. He was a big part of this. Murph, we really appreciate you, Brian Murphy, and none of this would have been done. The graphics, the switching back and forth, getting us on, the stuff in Brooklyn. Brandon Joseph.
That is the magic of Brandon Joseph. He's short list awesome around here.
So we want to say thanks to everybody. Make sure you tune in to 680 The Fan tomorrow for the front row on your drive in to work. Make sure you check out all of the folks throughout the course of the day. Domino and Cellini, also Buck and Kincaid, live from the Buck and Kincaid Classic, Chuck and Chernoff. And then on the Sports X, Home Team and Hamilton show at 9 o'clock. The Cheap Seats with Tug and Hudson Mason. And also A to Z with Mark Zeno, 106.3 FM, live from Cobb County. We'll see you all, listen to you all, take all of your calls, all of your reactions tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. Join us next time here from the 680 The Fan Fan Cave and 680thefan.com.
Go act the fool.